G'day guys, and welcome back to DreamHack Zoe Open for the WCS Spring Championship. Nearly said winter, it was right there on the tip of my list because so many people from winter are here again, and you are here again from winter as well.
It's always so good to see you, Maynard. I'm very happy to be here casting you again, of course. This is the second match that we'll be doing here today on the B stream. It's going to be uThermal versus iAsonu, some Terran versus Zerg action, and get a brief, beautiful glimpse of the city of Tours.
It is actually a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It is actually very beautiful, and spring in Europe is quite nice. I haven't been in this part of the world in spring for a long time, so it's cool to see all that green, all that beautiful shrubbery, the flowers are blooming, people got a smile on their face and a spring in their step.
It's great. The sun sets so late at night. I keep forgetting what it's like to be
further
up north.
It sets at like 8:30 p.m.
Yeah, so it's been very nice. We had a lot of fun here. This match is going to be starting pretty much soon. So
yep, we're in lobby already. So yeah. I mean, we had to pad a fair bit for that first game, but everyone's in stride now.
I'm just going to make sure the players are ready, and then we won't be able to go right into this one. But
well
Terran
played.
versus Zerg, always love it. I mean, it's just got all that good stuff. uThermal is a super aggressive player, loves to harass. This is going to be super not boring because iAsonu, Chinese Zerg, there's one thing that Chinese Zergs have in common. It's they go ham, non-stop, constant. And they're ready to go. So I'm just going to start this up.
Do it, man. You have the power. You're the admin.
We're going to get into it. They're like, I didn't even tell me that I was going to be the admin for these games. I was like, I have to press the start button.
And because Nathaniel is sitting over there, he is in fact the observer for this game as well. So bear with us. Yes, I'm sure he'll do a great job.
It will be tough, but I think I'll be able to do it. We'll be able to make it happen.
I trust you, man. I believe you completely, 100%. My life and my tournament experience is in your hands.
This is the part where everyone watching this stream that's seen my stream before is like, oh God, no.
Oh God, no.
This is it. This is it.
A lot of Sir W's out there in the chat.
Yeah, make sure you tweet #DHOpen, #WCS. Today's question is Nathanius a worse observer than Rifkin? Let's find out. I know we both get a lot of comments about that.
Yeah.
So the game did start, but we're totally paused, apparently. uThermal needed an immediate pause. So
yeah.
It says he can't click anything.
Can't click anything. That seems important.
I don't have referee ability in this lobby, but I'm pretty sure it happens sometimes. It's a part of the Alt-Tab bug. If you tap Alt, then it can reset it, and that can allow you to input commands. That happens to me all the time.
And unfortunately, we can't run over there and tell him that.
No, no. We are literally chained. Actually, you can't see this, but there are, I think, stainless steel shackles on our ankles.
You got stainless steel?
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
That caster money. I'm on like some rusty copper.
Well, see, I'm on that U.S. health plan, so it's like if I get tetanus, then there's just no there's no saving it. So.
I had to use my very dodgy Australian dollar, which isn't worth much in the world, to try and afford my shackles. Because DreamHack charge you for those shackles, of course. You can't actually.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, no.
See, that's because your flight costs so much more coming from Australia.
Yeah.
So.
They thought that with my 25 odd hours worth of travel that I should suffer a little bit more before we get.
Just a little bit lower quality shackles. So.
Yeah.
They're just, I guess, going to try to figure out the hockey situation and get it all together.
Sure it's not.
I'm sure it's not going to be a huge deal. Just so you guys know, the match is going to start on Ruins of Endion. I know this because we're in Ruins of Endion. It's in, it's paused. You can't see it, but we can. So we're just teasing you a little bit. Yeah. uThermal says everything should be good to go now, so we will be able to get in to our second best of 5 here. I believe Neeb versus Lobo is still going on.
Possibly. That's a long series right now. It's very close.
Definitely worth checking out. When we're loaded in.
We're in. Let's do it. And in the bottom right spawn here, Ellen from China, this is iAsonu.
Look at that.
You guys are so good at this.
Little zoom in and twirl.
That's right. And in the bottom left here, I'm a huge fan of this guy, and I'm so happy to meet him for the first time at this tournament. It is, in fact, uThermal. Always known for being an incredibly good micro player. He has some of the best marine control I've seen EU.
Yep.
Foreigner in general, he is an incredibly good control player.
Yeah, he's a super aggressive player. People watched him at DreamHack Leipzig. I remember is where I think he got his first little bit of deserved credit. They didn't really get too much of prior, which pretty much just came out of he was the guy against Protoss, like that was before the Adept nerf. He was actually beating some Protosses at that tournament. Everyone's like, how did he do this? It's like, actually, his builds were just so aggressive that they were enough to really get inside the head of any of those players. So he's not doing anything super crazy this game. Barracks into gas. It's going to be a Reaper expand most likely from uThermal. Could go fast reactor, but either way, not a huge deal. And likewise, iAsonu hatched first into pool into gas. Nothing really outside the ordinary here.
That's kind of like the anti-Reaper build, the anti-Terran opener. Yeah. It's pretty much what you do. And Ruins of Endion, close by air, pretty good for drop play, which is something that uThermal loves to do. And iAsonu, we've seen cheeky Zergs also go for drop play. Zergs can do it too, guys, don't forget.
Yeah, this is just one of those maps where you can get across very quickly. I mean, in the late game, these rocks will open up a much faster attack path to the fort that a lot of players like to get. But we've also seen some other unorthodox strategies. You try to maybe buy yourself a little bit of time. There are, of course, these giant rock towers, because it wouldn't be StarCraft if we couldn't just knock mountains over to prevent our opponents from sending their forces at us.
Yeah. Absolutely not. We got the Reaper expand here from uThermal. Just making that one Reaper, switching over to Marines. No reactor or anything yet. So just going to get some map knowledge here. Pretty quick factory here from uThermal. So probably Hellion play.
Yeah, you know, that's actually a really interesting thing that you point out, because instead of going for the reactor right after the Reaper, he would prefer to get the factory faster. So if this Reaper were to see something crazy, Maynard, like, I don't know, like roaches already coming out.
Roaches.
If he was going for some sort of really fast roach attack, by getting that factory before the reactor, he actually allows himself to move into siege tanks more quickly if necessary, or even Banshee, whatever he wants to do. It just makes it harder to kill uThermal early on, especially since he's still not getting a reactor. So he's saying, I want to have enough Marines to also break down my rocks. So this tells me he already wants to play a little bit on the greedy side.
That's interesting, because like you said, and like I agreed with you, I think uThermal's a very aggressive player, and he's had a lot to say about TvZ in the past and how he's frustrated against the Zergs in this matchup. But he tends to want to end the game before it reaches the mid to late game against the Zerg. He hates the late game in TvZ, but
I think pretty much every Terran does.
Yeah,
you know, it's if you think about what makes Terran even just fun to play in Maynard, it's Micron Marines, Marauders, doing drops, getting damage done all over the place, and that becomes really difficult to do as the game progresses against Zerg, because you get things like Ultralisks with 8 armor, and not so. It's not even so much as like a balance sort of thing, but it's just a lot harder to have to play with slower units like Liberators and trying to deal with that instead of just using stimmed bio.
So as iAsonu goes for his third hatchery here, quite safely can do so. You see uThermal is in fact getting, like you said, those quicker siege tanks, getting medevacs out in the play as well already. So a lot of that factory tech and the starport tech happening a little bit quicker. He's locked down, so he's nice and safe to take his third CC.
Yeah, so he uses this opening. So this is another reason why, if you don't think you need them, you don't have to go for the Hellions early on, because he was probably already thinking about blocking himself in, right? So it's like, okay, well, I don't get the Hellions. This means I can just start stim faster than I normally would. Get the tank, get the medevac really, really quickly, get the third base. And for uThermal, this seems to be a pretty solid opening, but now it all comes down to, can he get some value out of this tank? I think the slightly later third out of iAsonu is definitely something that's already working in favor of the Dutch Terran.
So he's obviously perfectly aware that the siege tank is on the field here, and this siege tank exists for killing queens, harassing, abusing these cliffs, and creep tumors if he can as well, to try and hold back creep from spreading too quickly.
We've seen a lot of pushes from players. I think even like Polt, I think back to last week in Austin, even if he wasn't able to make it super far in that bracket, using this area to siege up and then bring further drops forward. There's a lot that you can do. Not taking some big shots on
That's 3 damage right there. That's going to bring it down to 3/4 life as it hatches, or I guess as it finishes morphing. Queen's going to hit here from the top. We got some Lings trying to help from the low ground. There's not that many Lings though. The tank can actually just take them out.
Yeah, I think if he had a chance to just focus fire down those Zerglings with the tank, then it obviously makes it a lot easier, because the tanks have that minimum range. You have to be at least 3 range away, otherwise tank can't shoot you, so the Lings stay nice and
This
close.
looks so funny.
Yeah.
Just those
Come down, come play with us. It's like just the annoying kids, like, no man.
That's right.
Stay with your classmates.
We got the double engineering bay from uThermal, getting 1-1 on the way, as is iAsonu for range here, so going to go for that more EU style of Zerg, Roach, and Ravager. It's the play of the day.
And moving into that lair, I believe, just finished. So we should see the Roach speed starting up. And maybe we see a little bit of that Roach Ravagery type of composition. I'd love to see Infestors mixed in with that. If it's just Roach Ravager, then it could be like one of those big timing attacks you just try to hit before the Terran player has a core amount of bio out.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Dan. We see the Infestation pick going down here for iAsonu, locking him down, getting those medevacs with the Ravager bile shots. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, this is a very, very strong style that doesn't rely, or doesn't have to, rely on hitting, like any sort of timing. It's more like you want to basically be able to use Fungal to either lock down drops so that your Ravagers can land bile, or use the cost effectiveness of the Roaches, Ravagers, and the Infestors to hold the opponent away long enough that you can make your way up to Ultralisks, because that hive is still something that's very important. And now we have Roaches finally coming out. Roach speed is getting close to finishing, but these Roaches don't have to be aggressive. They just have to keep uThermal from really being able to push too far out on the board.
Yeah, and speaking of timings, Stim is done for uThermal. He doesn't have too many units other than this tanker pack. It's been pretty much the only thing, but there is 2 drop ships heading into the main. Too many roaches on the dance floor. Has to rethink that option.
Yeah, see, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it,
No,
Maynard.
you're too good, man.
Working my observing skills as best I can. We do have the first couple of infestors coming out as 1-1 finishes. That tank!
Oh! Big pickup there from iAsonu. That is actually a large pickup. Doesn't have to worry about that tanker back anymore.
No.
Gives him a lot of safety and peace of mind to be able to just bat away this dropship.
Absolutely savage there. So this is kind of what I was talking about. If you don't invest in the infestors, I think you could have pumped out a crazy amount of Ravagers to go for a big strike before all these add-ons really kick in, before we have all of the barracks production, and that makes it very hard. In fact, if we just look at the supply, there's pretty big lead coming up for iAsonu. Some people will be like, yeah, Nate, but roaches, you know, they're not as cost effective. It doesn't really matter when your opponent has so many more roaches than you. So uThermal has to be careful. If he loses his drops, he opens up a really big counterattack opportunity for iAsonu.
uThermal trying to get up for +2. iAsonu is getting 2-2 on the way for his roaches. The Marines can trade here. He's losing quite a few, but they will take out the roaches. Gives iAsonu a lot of time to be able to reinforce this if he can. He does actually choose to evacuate that hatchery.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think he still had a little bit floating around here, just kind of doing nothing, but...
So he won't get this hatchery, but he will get a few drones.
Nice.
Actually, nice little play there from uThermal, getting some damage done.
Yeah, it's the first workers that he's really picked off this game. Scans, gets a tumor, and then runs straight full into some roaches. Important things to keep in mind, though. Concussive Shell starts up, but only +2 attack is on the way for uThermal. He hasn't started that armor upgrade, and that's a little bit disconcerting. He didn't queue it up behind attack, but yeah, that's still a solid, you know, what, minute behind?
Yeah, and iAsonu is going to have the upgrade advantage for a little bit when 2-2 finishes. We see Liberators starting to join the field here. We've seen a very, very key mid-game unit for the Terran, late-game unit as well.
It's so tricky trying to use Liberators against Roach Ravager because Liberators 2-shot every unit in this army composition, or they one-shot the infestors. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is that before the Liberators have range, it's still very easy to play around them with the Ravagers, especially in the open. So you have to be really careful.
Ravagers are the quote-unquote counter to the Liberator on the ground.
Yeah. Once you get that range upgrade, I feel like it gets a lot more difficult because the Ravager will have to step into range of the Liberator to shoot at it. But that's still, you know, even that is still better than, you know, we've already seen quite a few Zergs. Even on this map, I think back to like Masa versus Firecake was a pretty intense series last week in DreamHack Austin, where that quite literally is what it came down to, just dropping biles on the Liberators.
Yeah, that was a pretty hype series. I actually managed to watch those VODs. That was good fun. So you get a couple of Liberators here, not actually with the meat and potatoes of uThermal's army. They're looking for drone kills, maybe even a queen if they're lucky.
Yep, these Ravagers, man, they're in position. Only takes 3 bile shots.
Yeah, that's one dead Liberator right there, and the next one's going to go down as well.
So 2 Liberators for a Ravager. I don't know about that one, Maynard. Okay, this one, I think, missed a couple of those bile shots. So Liberator gets quite a bit of damage done, and going to go for a big fight in the center position.
Wow, uThermal hitting on 2 spots here. Straight through the guts of this Zerg creep. And it's actually quite a lot of army left over for uThermal. Plenty of medevac energy as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, he has to make sure to use that energy. Let these Marines and Marauders heal up. Quite a few of them are at the orange, yellow health, as we can see. But, you know, other things that are going on here. So a good amount of drones were actually cleaned up at this base.
Yeah,
14 have died total.
Nice little pick up there for uThermal.
But the 3-3 is on
scary.
the way.
And we're actually...
No Ultras, though.
Hive is done, so they are not far away, I'm sure. iAsonu's going to have to rely on Roach Ravager for the time being, and Infestor as well. Can't forget the Infestor. Oh, a little bit of lag here.
Yeah, it's never a bad move. Invest in the Infestor, become a pro. I think that's what
it's a good message, but a shame about the lag.
Yeah, well, that's it wouldn't be a pro match without a little bit of latency, right? It happens every now and again. I think that's one of the take counts. B. Assault begins to pour. But I'd say a pretty okay start to this series so far. I think this map kind of promotes a little bit more the defensive style with like where the 3 bases are located. But you know, because like Roddy and I, we had cast like the iAsonu, a lot of the Chinese guys so much in like WCS America, and one of the hallmarks was always like super aggressive, a lot of Ling Bane sort of thing. But I guess maybe the Roach Ravager style is something these guys have been favoring more. I personally haven't seen them playing as much as I normally would, so yeah, it's different.
I don't think uThermal and iAsonu have actually played each other ever in the history of StarCraft. I think this might be the first time.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, different parts of the globe, different time zones, different tournaments. Anyway, Become a Pro has left.
We're back in. You have to become a pro some other time, I guess.
Yeah.
This 3-3, as you said, is still firing up. Fusion Core in a second starport. I love this so much.
Yeah, that's very heavy on the Liberator there to get that upgrade.
It's funny that we talked about that Masa vs. Firecake game because we were on the bus coming here yesterday to tours, and I was just like, man, You know, that game was so painful to watch. Just like Masa just refusing to build Liberators, and he's like sitting like 6 aisles down the bus of me. He's like, hey man. I'm just like, no. This Fusion Core, you get some ranged libs. This army is not great anti-air. There's not even a Spire on the map, so I really feel like a bigger commitment into libs is definitely the right choice for uThermal. But if he gets fungled, it could be all over.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. He is bundled up here with his bio, and that's quite a simple fungal there for iAsonu if he does get it down. But he's being very, very careful, staying deep on the creep.
Yep. I think the biggest thing uThermal needs to do right now is just secure this 4th base. He's already broken the rocks. Just get a command center over there. He's got 2 on the way. But I think maybe if he'd gotten that a little bit earlier, it would have helped. But I guess, you know, iAsonu is still really only on, despite the bank, just those 4 bases as well. So it's not like he's substantially ahead or behind.
See those splits there from uThermal, anticipating the fungals there of the Infestor.
It looked like those few Marauders are just trying to catch one of the scouting Infestors out. But yeah, that's why you got to kill these creep tumors. Like if you look at iAsonu's vision, like he knows, you know, he's got his map packs on, man. He's like, well, if you step out onto the center of the map, I'm gonna see you because I've got creep there.
uThermal knows he knows, so he's pulling back.
I know that you know.
That's right.
That I know where your army is. So I think it's smart. You don't have to take this fight. It's very dangerous because even though like maxed out bio can take on Roach Ravager, the fungal growths allow those corrosive biles to just obliterate your army. So even though the ultras aren't added to the force just yet, the bio still wants to stay in the center because you also don't want to have those big Roach counterattacks destroy your infrastructure before you can get Liberators on the map.
And this is scary time for the Terran as Adrenal Glands is finished. 3-3 about to finish. Chitinous Blading also on the way for the Ultralisks, which will no doubt join the army of iAsonu relatively shortly. Yeah, very, very clumped. Going to be very careful against Fungals. Luckily, no Infestors at the front there.
Is he just going to run through, break the rocks? He's trying to cut him out of his own base?
And he does, and all these Overlords are dead! Oh, uThermal! He's going to get the Ultralisk cabin as well if he commits. He decides to engage here on the low ground.
Oh my goodness, uThermal running through that natural.
He's going to stop Chitinous if he chugs it down. It's so close.
Gets the Roach War in that army, getting closer and closer to your right, Maynard. He has to get it. It's so close to finishing. He's going to be able to finish researching it, though.
But
he
no
did
Ultras.
get Chitinous. And no Ultralisks, man. Yeah, he couldn't build anything if he wanted to. uThermal just ran into his base saying, where are your Overlords?
Oh, that's so sick.
Oh, he got
what
so
a great play.
many of them. And now this army's stuck in this weird choke point.
Yeah, he's actually forcing him into a choke at his own 3rd hatchery as he just continues to lay the hurt onto his infrastructure at the natural.
What a sick play. Oh my goodness. I'm in love with this game we have going here.
Wow.
Liberator range starts up. I just need to check. How many Overlords did he get? 11 Overlords.
Yeah. Oh, not microwing his army here, but the Liberators are getting the job done. Looks like the Ravager's trying to pick them out of the sky. Meanwhile, the hatchery has died here in the natural. Big fungal there from iAsonu on the bio units of uThermal. Still has quite a few, though, making 2 Ultralisk cabins.
And 2 Roach Warrens, so I'm guessing that...
Just in case.
Yeah, he's maybe building one of them inside of his main, and he just doesn't want to... Yeah, because he probably thinks he'll lose that if he loses the rest of his army here.
He wants 2 of every animal.
Yep. It's not a bad play. Considering what the position that he's in as far as number of bases goes, I like this a lot. Because, yeah, of course, he's going to run straight to the main. He's like, oh, well, there's your Ultralisk Cavern. So it's actually really smart that he got the second one. This army should eventually be able to clean this up, but it gets rid of most of the Infestors. There's no more energy for Fungals.
And hatchery kills, lots of damage there from uThermal. Definitely worth.
But you know what, Maynard? There's still no Spire on the map, and Liberator range... Thank you, based uThermal, for getting this, because whenever I watch a Terran, it happened to Pult last week, it happened to Masa last week, whenever I see a Terran in the late game and the Zerg refuses to build a Spire or any Spire units, get Liberator range.
He's going to have a bad time.
You know, people like to whine, people like to complain about balance. I'm a Terran player, and I'm going to say it, Maynard. Liberators are so freaking good. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't get this upgrade. You cannot attack into this if you are iAsonu.
He got 1 Liberator there. Starting to make a Spire there. His hand has been forced, so no doubt Corruptor's going to be hitting the field pretty shortly here for iAsonu.
The effective range of that upgrade makes them 18. Theoretically, you could be 18
Oh, this is
spots
a naked
away.
hatchery here.
Yeah, just put
No
the
queen.
Freedom Zone over that hatch. It's like, well, good luck, because I can just go all the way out here and still block the mineral line.
Yeah, this is the power of the upgrade we're watching right now. Ravager's coming out here to hit that Rav. They actually can hit it, but it's...
Yeah, they might get it.
Yeah, there it is.
So both those 2 Ravagers got there in the nick of time. But I love this. Section him off, and then they can actually kill the larva, too. So they can shut down your production capabilities. And then you could just drop here if you wanted. It's like, well, now you've got no larva, forcing these guys to run through.
Yep. unsieges those Liberators before they get taken out by the Ravagers. Spire finishing is going to spell things a little bit differently here, and iAsonu does have a very large bank to remax on whatever he wants.
He's got all of that money. He has 27 Larva, but he needs the Spire. He needs Spire units to win this game. He could have made 4 or 5 more Ultras, but those can't beat this army anymore with the Liberator support.
This may be too much at this point, Nathaniel. I'm not sure if even if the Spire finishes, if he's going to be able to handle this army on the ground.
Yeah, this is just way too much. Everything being obliterated. He's going to try to splinter off a good amount of this army. The Ultralisks, the Ravagers, the Roaches are going to push in, but we've got some Liberators here. We do have a bit of bio, and I feel like if that army ever comes home, he should be able to smite this down.
Should do. The Ravagers coming up here for the Liberators. They're going to get one here. One still alive, and an Ultralist very, very hurt. And there's a nice little run by here with the Roaches doing a little bit of free damage there, but uThermal is killing hatcheries here.
There's no more income for iAsonu. Like he's got literally nothing coming in. 15 drones scattered around, puddling on the edge of the earth, ready to be pushed off into the abyss.
Oh, they're heading to the abyss, all right, that's for sure. These drones are DEAD. That's
All
it.
the drones are dead.
So, yeah, no income for iAsonu. I mean, he has a decent bank, but, I mean, once he spends it, that's it. He doesn't actually have a way to remax after that.
Actually has nothing. He's building 4 drones, but this army's like, okay, we got some Corruptors out, but it's still just 7 Corruptors. Like, there's enough Marines
here. How many
here.
Liberators is that? It's too many Marines as well.
13 Liberators, 43 Marines. Like, you shouldn't be able to just poke like this, but he's going to try.
He's getting 2 Liberators for free. The Marines waking up now, and they're coming in.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, you can throw the Corrosive Bot and try to push the Marines away, but the Freedom Zones are big enough that you can just dance. And let's not forget, there's income for uThermal. He's still gaining resources. And
right. One Ultras has died to a Liberator. Not a good sign for iAsonu, who's already in a rough spot.
Great game by uThermal.
Yeah, really nicely played. Very hurt by it here, no medevacs.
And now the Ultras are mostly dead too. So just one Ultralist remaining. If that bad boy goes down, then this army the Liberators are no longer the most important part of the force. They're still very powerful. So this force gets cleaned up. It's like, all right, we did it. Well, there's a bit more here, but
there
then
is still 40 army supply
left all over the map here for uThermal. He's got all of these expansions. He's feeling good, man. And it's like, oh, I built a drone.
Bam.
And it's dead. Bye-bye, Larva.
Yeah, uThermal definitely got the daddy pants in game number 1 here. He is large and in charge, and iAsonu's just trying to do what he can.
This
but
is his only drone.
Yeah. Wow.
That's it. This is his economy, guys. Check it out. It's not even mining. He's just dancing around. It's like, what do I do? I'll just go fight, I guess.
You're so funny.
I'm having a blast here with this
is good fun.
I'm actually quite enjoying. So they killed the Larva, killed the Queen as it popped out.
There it is. GG. The Dutch Terran gets game number 1 in a pretty entertaining game there.
I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, me too.
I'm expecting this to be a good series. I like the action, the back and forth. uThermal, as anyone knows, I'm a big fan of my Dutch folk, so always a good time. And just so happy to see him use the Liberators, because the last few TvZs I've seen on this map have just gotten way too out of hand.
Yeah, very well played against the map and against that kind of Zerg as well. I mean, we both dressed them up as aggressive players, and then neither of them did anything to each other for like the first 10 minutes.
And I would still proffer that a lot of that has to do with the map too, just because you know, if we think about it, uThermal can be aggressive, but he's also kind of smart with his build orders, and I think opening up without a reactor on his barracks just to break down the rocks is him saying like, I think I can beat whatever style you're going to throw at me. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know how many of iAsonu's games to qualify for this were broadcast or who his opponents were. Yeah. When I think about, like, if you want to qualify to the Chinese region, you're probably playing against dudes like XY, as far as Terrans go.
Maybe, I guess, Psyarchy mainly plays C, Tudbing.
But there's not a lot of guys that will play like that. And XY plays, from my experience, like a very vanilla sort of Terran style. So there's not really a whole lot to read into it. So maybe he feels like kicking it back is still a really good choice. But on Ruins of Endion, I just think that makes sense. The second map for this best of 5 is going to be Invader. So much harder to secure that third base, I would say, against Zerg.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it to Todd. I have this one vetoed, in fact, so I haven't played a whole lot of Invader, to be perfectly honest. But
there is still a lot of airspace behind the main for Liberator rushes, which means, of course, I quite like it. But I also don't like not being able to get that third up super early. So I think
I like to have 3 bases.
I would say this is the map where we go back to us being like, yeah, we were smart on with this prediction because this should be a map where we see some aggressive play out of both of them. I don't think uThermal's going to rush 3 command centers. I don't think he's going to skip Hellions. Maybe he SCV scouts because there's a very long rush distance. So if you scout late, it's very easy to get caught off guard. But at the same hand, like I wouldn't be shocked if we saw from iAsonu maybe some sort of really fast speedling attack, with some sort of pool before hatch build, or even just like a 2-base Ling Roach. Like there's all sorts of stuff that happens because there's also no ramp leading into your natural expansion, which generally just makes it easier for like corrosive bile. You don't need an overlord up there to throw bile onto a bunker or a wall.
Well said.
Yeah. So we have the lobby set up. Pretty much everyone is here. I guess they're probably gonna make me the host of the lobby again whenever they're ready. I don't know. So I'll try not to blindly miss that and make sure we start the game as fast as we can.
At least you didn't become a pro like that one guy.
No. That's the thing, man. I tried and I failed, but at least I did it without lagging, right?
Yeah, it's really like you didn't kill eSports trying to do what you need to do. And that's good.
I'm going to ask players ready to go, ? uThermal says go. iAsonu says go.
That's go, man.
All right.
That's the start button right there.
And we are going to start the game.
Game number 2, iAsonu and uThermal, an extremely, not even just entertaining, that was extremely entertaining game number 1 there for both players. Very fun.
Fun first game. I'm expecting this second one to also be quite good, as we are
probably a little bit earlier action-packed. Not going to wait for 10 minutes to see some action.
Yes, I would definitely say that. And another thing I like about both of these guys, so maybe not so much iAsonu, because I think about Chinese players, I think, okay, a bit aggressive, but even though uThermal is aggressive, he still usually does it in a different way than other players would. Like if we talk about an aggressive Korean Terran, we're like, oh, he'll open mine drop off 2 barracks into like a follow-up stim attack on 2 base, and it's like, okay, well, kind of every Terran already sort of does builds like that anyway, but uThermal will be like, no, I'm going to open with like fast double cyclone off reactored barracks and push down the map with that, like, obviously like more TVP side of things, but I also could see him doing like something like even like a Liberator range rush, not on this map, but he's the kind of guy to do it.
And let's watch him get down for game number 2 against iAsonu. It is going to be here on Invader Ladder Edition in the top spawn here. The Dutch Terran. This is uThermal.
Base God
uThermal. And in the bottom here, incredibly good Zerg from the Asian region. This is iAsonu. I really hope I pronounce his name correctly, by the way. Yeah. I have not been confirmed one way or the other if I'm doing it correctly.
So Roddy and I had to do this a lot back in like WCS America and such, because the Chinese players would always compete through this region. And we got to speak to Edison, one of the guys that works with Invictus Gaming, and he's a really big supporter of the Chinese StarCraft scene, but he also is like a translator and helps out all the Chinese players. And we asked him about this. We're like, so how exactly do you say this? So I say iAsonu, but apparently he's like, yeah, it's just some like handle thing that he had. He would actually just prefer to just call him like IA. So like, he kind of did that a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like nobody wants to call the guy IA. Like if he logged in on an account named just IA and everything was IA, then he's like, okay, well I can see that. But I guess like some people be like, iAsonu.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't know. iAsonu.
And a lot of the Chinese players are on IG, so if you guys are on IG, IGIA.
Yeah.
It's like 3 steps away from Old McDonald.
Exactly. That's we're just getting into farmhouse songs basically at this point.
Yeah.
So with these spawns, both players being on the west side, this is the shortest rush distance. This is kind of like a long rush distance map, but the shortest distances, especially between the third bases. And the reason why we talk about this being so hard to hold is the distance between your naturals. Say if you want to take a third and your opponent threatens to attack your natural or your third, you have to be like here. Yeah. And this is not good.
Which leaves your main and natural completely open for any kind of attack.
It's a very aggressive map. Like it's just the way that it's laid out. So if you want to take that third, you need to have a very mobile force capable of dealing with attacks from basically every possible angle, including drops, which have popped up for both Terran, obviously Terran, but also Zerg on this map.
Yep, see a relatively standard opening. Oh, with that said,
there we go.
Never mind.
So already uThermal is showing us something a little bit cheeky here. So he's got the Reaper opening, and we talk about this, super standard, not unorthodox by any means. But that fast second barracks, I'm gonna call it right now, man. He's gonna get a tech lab on that. He's gonna go stim. He's just gonna open up with maybe some Hellions to harass, but go for a really fast, maybe like Marine Hellbat attack, with or without a starport, just to try and put more pressure on.
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure here with that one Reaper. Hasn't seen too much here from iAsonu, but it's pretty much all you expect as a Zerg in the early game here.
There's nothing unusual on iAsonu's part, and Zerg has always been the race least affected by oddly laid out maps like third bases and whatnot, especially in Legacy of the Void.
Oh, they have creep, they have, you know,
and force fields are no longer such a big part of the game for like TvZ, like it used to be in like Wings of Liberty, where one weirdly placed choke point can cost you the game. Because people don't really do that anymore.
Oh, Widow Mines here from uThermal. Pretty sick.
Yep. I like this a lot. It's a very cheap option out of the factory.
Very anti-Zergling.
Yeah, it does surprise me a little bit because I mean, maybe he's worried about being attacked and he wants to mine just defensively.
I was expecting Hellions as well. It makes sense with Hellions with the Reaper. You do a lot against the Queens, a lot against the Zerglings, and you can really pressure quite a bit. The mine kind of.
He needs to start the starport soon then if he wants to play this out.
And there it is.
Okay. So I was gonna say if he's not gonna get Hellions, then this just has to be super fast Marine attack drop, which is also nice because Stim will allow him to get a third base at some point if he so chooses.
Reaper is diving, going to see what he can see. If he gets any of that tech, gonna have a look here. Sees no lair.
There's nothing to see is the really weird part, but if you're uThermal, knowing this tells you that you should still be very conscious about Lings. If there's no lair, no Roach Horn, no Baneling Nest, his drops should do great once he gets in there. But yeah, this is just so smart to finish his wall off. Like, what can my opponent do? He could only just build Zerglings.
Yeah.
There's no other option. And if you're Terran, you're not really worried about that. You can build a wall. Walls are great.
If this was the beta, the Zerg would already be dropping Lings into your main.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if it was like the first week of beta, he would have just what was that Cat's build, just 3 Ravager Rush when they attacked as fast as Stim Marines and did like 30 damage a shot.
I'm like, we're not on cam, but I'm slowly shaking my head from the dark days in the beta.
Those were dark days.
The game is so good right now, though.
You like rush one of those overpowered Cyclones and you still lose because it just sniped the tech lab as it's building, and it's like, damn it.
Good times, man. Roach Warren's going to be here, so Roach Ravager kind of the play for a lot of Zergs in ZBT these days. You don't really see Ling, Bane, Muta as much.
Yeah,
maybe on bigger maps.
I mean, Liberators are just ridiculous, right? So I mean, going Mutalisks is kind of like it's a bit suicidal. If you ever want to get away with that style, you pretty much have to kill the first 2 or 3 Liberators the Terran builds, because once they get to 6, like there's no number of Mutalisks that can survive one shot of that.
Yeah.
So
they'll fight Infinity Mutalisks.
So here we go. This is the crux of everything. The first couple of Roaches are coming out, but we've got Stim Marines, 16 of them. This third base should go down. In an ideal world, you don't invest this much as uThermal without killing a lot, but he wants to go for the Queens instead.
Yeah, it's trading very, very nicely with the Lings there. Targeting down the Queens, does get all 3, picks up and moves along.
All right, so seeing that there's no drones at the third base, he recognizes that he may not be hurting the economy all that much if he actually kills that. So instead, goes right to the main base.
Yeah, possibly another Queen kill here. The Roaches are coming up here, and they are there in time to deflect the Marines. He pulls back to the third hatchery, and look at this map abuse here from uThermal.
Yeah, that distance to rush, especially since these rocks haven't been broken, is super long. And what this is also going to do is kind of keep iAsonu from focusing on what uThermal's doing, because we can see uThermal hasn't started the third command center. He's still just building Marines. We can see on the production tab he's getting tanks. So while all this is going on, he's preparing for a follow-up attack. iAsonu, he's not really seeing too much of what's happening, and he's not mining off of his third base.
And these Marines trading nicely again. Damage down there. They killed a few Roaches as well. And this time iAsonu has correctly made the decision to split up his Roach army to be able to deal with that kind of abuse the Medivacs are doing with that third and that main cliff there.
Yep, and if we look at the follow-up attack, I mean, Combat Shields is now done.
Tank.
He's going to get a couple Liberators to supplement this, not even getting add-ons on these barracks. He just wants to attack as fast as he can, and iAsonu should be aware of this. He's got the Overlord hovering over this spot, but will he be able to get enough units out to stop the follow-up attack? So
it's completely clear to us now that uThermal just wants to mass a big bio army with siege tanks to support it as well, and kill iAsonu before he gets too large. Before there's too much Zerg, I should say.
Yeah, before the army gets too large, right? So the tank on its own, there's, I think, enough Ravagers here to keep uThermal busy in terms of having to micro and pick up and move that tank around. It's a very vulnerable target. The Marines alone are going to have a hard time pushing in any choke points, so it's all about that tank and getting the second one up so that they can kind of cover each other.
We talked about it a bit in game 1. uThermal's control is so good, though. It's going to be tough for iAsonu to hit a medevac with a siege tank in it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, because the tank is going to prevent the roaches from diving on top of him. It is important to note that we have like the Ravagers on the right side, on the left, so there's a really big opportunity here for a flank, and I love that he puts a Liberator on both sides, because he's recognizing that he could be hit from multiple angles here as the Marines go into the third.
He's coming in here. iAsonu deflecting so far with the roaches, though. The Ravagers keeping him zoned out a little bit, but between the Ravager cooldowns, uThermal coming in here with his bio, and looks like iAsonu springing from both sides. Quite a few roaches on the low ground here. Does get one of the tanks. One of them does go down there. The bio of uThermal is thinning out, and iAsonu is going to deflect.
Yeah, I mean, the Marines are doing a good job of picking out some of these Ravagers, but the Liberators were not enough, and suddenly the game turns around quite heavily. I'm pretty worried for uThermal. The biggest problem right now is that he doesn't even have that third base, so he could try to float his main, which is to the third, which is being creeped on, but he doesn't have enough bio to actually stop the Roach Ravager counter.
His plan was to try and end the game with that army right there. He had no follow-up, like you said, no third CC, and iAsonu's kept his third hatchery. He's kept his production alive, and he can just siege up on that bunker, and he's making 15, I think he had 15 or so more roaches on the way, 6 more on the production tab.
I mean, if we just look at the army setup, right, 25 Marines, 2 tanks versus 23 roaches and 5 Ravagers. Okay, Marines and tanks are supposed to be pretty cost-effective against those. I love this actually denying the units that are building is also getting rid of that queen.
That's nice. But the Liberators do need to pick up now. Ravager shots coming down. The Biles do miss.
So these Liberators are actually really important, because what they're also doing is preventing iAsonu from committing to not only mining that third, but pushing out across the map, since a lot of his drones are at that third base.
Denying that gas.
And this is going to be it. This is the final push uThermal is going to be able to make in this game. If he can't win it off of this, I don't think he's going to have a chance. Maybe if he kills the third and the drones that are here, he can try to just drag this game out, but even that is going to be really difficult to pull off.
So they'll have to deal with siege tanks, and I think 3 Liberators total. 4 Liberators, in fact.
Yeah,
2 going down.
A lot of freedom in this army. I think the third base should definitely be a nice target.
Yeah, I'm not sure he can do much about this. You can target it down with the Marines. The third hatchery does go down. Back to 3 hatcheries. Does still have a pretty sizable army of Roach Ravager.
Gets rid of one of the medevacs there, and this is where uThermal has his opportunity. This is his last chance to really pick this one and get it going together. I mean, I still think that getting the third allows him to fall back a bit, but he didn't get the drones there, so the economy is still kind of even here. That Overlord's still blocking the third base of uThermal as well.
Yeah, same amount of workers, 46 and 47 drones.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it all comes down to the Liberator count. He has an insane number of them.
Big attack here from iAsonu. Liberated zones go down, though. So much freedom. A lot of the roaches and rabbits going down there. They have to be zoned out and pushed back.
Yeah, it's really, really important, because now there's enough Liberators that we're like two-shotting 2 units at a time. Of course, Liberators shoot a projectile, so they do overkill. If one roach steps into all 5 zones at once, all 5 Liberators will shoot at it. So you do want to try to spread your liberation zones out to a good degree, but this is still, I think, enough so far out of uThermal.
Yeah, he can actually, I think even with just the siege tanks and Marines, engage a lot of this army. The Liberator's kind of icing on the cake here for uThermal. Trying to get that extra hatchery there of iAsonu that's going down. So far, iAsonu defending it, but he's looking like he's giving it up.
Yeah, this is really nice. So keep in mind, we have a little bit of money here, but it's actually was getting supply blocked a bit there, as he did just throw some more units into the freedom zones. But that Overlord can't get any diminished. He cannot build that many more units, so he has to build more into there. The supply block is another thing that's just going to work in uThermal's favor. And
the army supply is in iAsonu's favor, but we are looking at a heavily Roach Ravager army, which isn't super efficient as we get into the mid-game. I mean, a lot of Marines here with plenty of health, and I wonder what the medevac energy is quite good as well. So another few healthy stims here. This is a very, very tough spot to engage.
Yeah, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that while both players are starting to lose income from the mineral patches depleting, worst comes to worst, uThermal can float a command center, but if iAsonu dumps all of his money into building an army to break out of this contain, he's not going to be able to afford to expand.
He will have to end the game with that army and just move across the map.
So uThermal has actually gotten him into this really weird position where he's saying, look, man, we're not playing a macro game here. No, that option is off the table. You are going to have to build some force to try and break me, or you will just die. And these roaches try to slip around, but they get wrecked.
A lot of roaches go down there, and that thins out the army of iAsonu. Getting a Liberator there. The last Bile actually missed that second Liberator. That one will die, though. And we've got Marines on the top here, taking a few hits.
Those Liberators just took out an insane number of units. 3 kills, 4 kills, 2. This has been a really, really nice setup, because the supply is finally, once again, tipped into uThermal's favor. A couple Bile shots are going to go down, but doesn't manage to pick this Liberator off.
He's losing so many units every time he fires off those Biles.
Yeah, there's just such an endless chain of the Liberators, the siege tanks pushing forward, and then of course those Marines raining hell onto this army.
Yeah, insane DPS from Marines. They have 1-1. so they are quite good against the Raptors.
Now there's 5 siege tanks too, Maynard. That's on its own quite a force to be reckoned with here.
Slowly pushing the liberation zones, leapfrogging each other, getting forward there.
I was so worried. I mean, I really felt like earlier on, like uThermal had found a way to throw this game, but he has brought it back in stellar fashion. Just the way that he's synergizing these liberators with the siege tanks, covering each other is so good. I
mean, at this point, when the Terran is 20 army supply up and equal workers, he's not really in a losable position unless he throws it completely horribly, but uThermal a little bit too good for that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. These roaches are going to come in one last desperate attack, and GG is called.
There it is.
uThermal going up 2-0 in this best of 5.
He's on match point.
Oh, this is, well, I mean, man, let's just get it off. You know, we're both Terran bros.
We are.
This is some good stuff right here.
It's putting a smile on my dial, Nathanius. I love TvZ. It's my favorite matchup. A great Zerg impresses me as much as a great Terran.
And I think it's safe to say that we talked about the map and how the players would play. We got a much more action-packed game out of Invader, just because, you know, we mentioned the third base is a tough thing to deal with. uThermal's like, third base, what's that? Not even a thing.
Yeah,
and then
playing to the map to their strengths.
Yeah, and iAsonu's like, I want a third base, and now I don't have one.
Yeah, and now I got to defend it because I'm a Zerg and I need a third hatchery.
That's right. That's my base, and I need it now. But
yeah, so hopefully, I'm sure a more favorable map will come up here for the final match for iAsonu. And
it's Frozen Temple, which I would say I like for Zerg, mostly because if you're a Terran player, and this again comes back to uThermal's range, because we know he can play the aggressive styles, which I think are good on this map too, but it comes back to if you are in a position where you're in that 3 base versus 3 base, you have that giant ramp, and well, I'll show you once we get into the game, but you have that giant ramp outside your third, you have that massive open area that's covered by rocks, which can be broken down in the mid game, and then you have that huge area by your natural expansion and the bridge in the middle. So there's so many different angles to cover harassment from. This should be a Zerg's dream for things like Ling run-bys, burrowed roach attacks.
The third is still tricky to hold in this one.
Yeah, multi-prong aggression is just really strong. But at the same time, this map has a giant cliff in the main base. uThermal, if you're up 2-0, honestly, knowing uThermal, I wouldn't be surprised if he did like 3 Rax Reaper, just like really crazy aggression.
It's actually a really good map for Reapers. I always forget that.
If I was
when
up
I play
2-0,
at TVT, I remember though.
Yeah, if I'm up 2-0 against a Zerg that I'm like kind of dominating, you know, like, cause he threw that one fight, he got really sandwiched. It seemed like that was iAsonu's chance. He's on 3 base versus 2. I'm like, okay, if you can bring a game back and win that, just be like, man, just put it all on the line with like the micro. Cause then even if you lose this, you're like, well, I've still got that comfort of being up 2-1. I want to see something semi-cheesy out of uThermal here, because it's not the best macro map for TvZ.
You want it. Let's see if he delivers.
Just give it to me, uThermal. We're getting we have the lobby together. Pretty much everyone is here. There are so many casters. I guess you can watch this broadcast in German, Polish, I think, as well.
Yeah, and definitely some Take TV people. So absolutely,
I'm sure there's
language. And the mainstream. I mean, O Gaming is here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some French commentary for this
for the French tournament. I sure hope so.
Yeah, someone from Empire. So I think maybe there's even a Russian cast of this. So they've put the lobby controlling in my hands again. So I'm going to ask players ready.
Getting drunk with power over here, Nathanius.
Yes, it is all consuming here at DreamHack Tour.
It is.
It's what happens when I get to have baguettes for breakfast. American bread just does not stand up to this.
Man, I got so many carbs this morning for breakfast. I'm charged with so much energy for this cast.
Exactly. All right, so the players are ready. So I'm going to start the game. But I feel that exact way, you know? It's like in America, we got like corn syrup and all of our stuff or whatever, and come out here, it's like, no, man, soda's got real sugar in it. Everything's amazing.
It's like the Mexican
Candy.
Coke.
Yeah, it's really good, man. I wish we had Milka in the U.S. It's quite hard to get. Some good stuff.
I just like how we just have bread and cheese for every meal here in France.
If one of these shops could just move to L.A., just right
They'd make
in
a
one
killing.
of those. Yeah, seriously. There probably is one that I'm just blissfully ignorant of.
Well,
as we are loaded in to game number 3 here at DreamHack Tour. You're watching StarCraft 2. Legacy of the Void.
We sure hope so.
Oh, I did it, by the way. I called it. It's happening.
Called it. Yep, there's that proxy. She's off. And it's up left here, the cheeky Dutch Terran. This is uThermal.
And of course, speaking of Dutchies, stroopwafel as well, which is really hard to get.
Are you on the Fritz with mayonnaise hype train yet?
No.
You're not that Dutch yet, then.
I'm not that Dutch, not yet.
And in the bottom right here, he's in a rough spot. This is iAsonu. Needs to win the next 3 games.
You know what, though? Talk about that RNG coin. Easy. So he sees this, so already he knows. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go pool
Yeah,
first.
this is amazing for iAsonu to get that early scout.
But the thing is, uThermal is cheesy enough that anyone who plays him on EU is like, all right, well, maybe I'll always scout. So I'm sure he's been in this scenario before. And I would still say, he's like, the Overlord is close enough that the SCV can see it. He's like, okay, well, I know that he knows that I'm cheesing, but I'm up 2-0, so it doesn't really matter. The pressure is still on IA. Because if you think about it from IA's perspective, right, it's like, man, I'm really getting my butt kicked here, and now I'm getting cheesed. Well, better have the perfect defense, otherwise I'm out of this tournament.
This is the place from whence Salt is born.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. Triple racks. He's like, doesn't...
Yeah, just going ham.
Zero given at all for this Overlord right there.
He's like, man, when in France, is like, don't just take half a baguette. Take the whole baguette.
This is some serious fromage.
You're not gonna get this experience everywhere that you go on this great big beautiful blue planet. So he is going to go all out. He's getting the second gas as well, so he can build 3 Reapers at a time. And I'm sure maybe we'll see a little bit of a bunker play here too. The pool first is nice because that prevents the bunker in a nice way. But even then, once the Reapers come out, they're going to play ball here.
Yeah, and there's that bunker going down. iAsonu is completely aware of it. The Lings aren't in position, though. I mean, this one Ling can actually deny the bunker.
Yep. That's it's quite important because there's not really too many SCVs out on the map. There's another one that can come over.
So as those barracks is finished, he does actually have multiple SCVs to be able to push this issue.
Yep. Weirdly enough, he did not wall his main base off, so that one lane could actually make its way inside and get a little bit of damage done. Now, he is going into roaches to help deal with this, which I always find a bit scary because I feel like speedlings are the only things that can really put an end to massive Reapers.
Queen's dead. It's a pick-off there for the Reapers. That's a big pick-off in the early game here for Terran in the TvZ.
Roaches are just so slow, though. Like, you should never be able to get a good position on those Reapers with how big the clip space is on this map. Like, if I was
gonna lose a lot of drones before the roaches come out. He's already lost a few.
If I was gonna turn off caster mode, I would just say, like, I don't know how iAsonu is supposed to win this game. This is gonna be really difficult.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't turn it off then.
No.
Canceled that bunker, but he still has a lot of Reapers alive here. And yeah, still making three at a time. And as the roaches pop out,
how do you get drones to your natural expansion?
He has to spread the creep. Yeah, I mean, he'll just kill the queens as they come out.
Because I know that uThermal cheeses enough to be one of those Terrans that we eventually realized that if you just build roaches, Reapers can actually destroy them because that grenade damage is just insane.
Yes, it's splash damage. You can stack them.
It does stack, that's right. So if you throw 3 grenades and you have 10 roaches on top of those 3 grenades, you're dealing an insane amount of damage. They will take damage from all 3 grenades at once. And you're like, okay, well, Reapers only do like 3 or 2 damage a shot against roaches, but those grenades are 40-some plus.
iAsonu's made 3 drones and making 4 overlords right now.
Yeah, why is 4 over? Okay, so you realize he's supply block. Now he's up to 5 overlords.
Wow, that's a lot of his lava. I guess he's happy with his roach count.
But just think about it, like now uThermal's starting to build SCVs back home again too, so he will slowly be able to build up a follow-up, whereas iAsonu's economy is not growing, and he's also investing it into roaches, which in an ideal world, if uThermal's control stays as good as it's been, isn't going to be too much of a factor. Just look, he's just chipping away at these roaches.
Yeah, and the Reaper army is getting bigger and bigger each time as well. He's going to take out this queen.
Beautiful. I love it. Throw the grenades on the ramp and basically say, hey, you're going to have to eat him if you want to come down. And then there's still this giant cliff. So once the natural has something there worth defending, when these roaches get split up, he can run around. He can just be super, super annoying.
Could potentially suicide a bunch of those Reapers into those 3 roaches in the high ground there.
Yeah, I love this. I love these roaches in the high ground just because the Reapers are trying to rally. Like when you just rally the barracks to them, they're going to obviously take the fastest route. So they do take a few free shots here. But this Reaper harass is still very, very good. I still would have wanted to see Link speed. I still feel like speed links is the easiest way to deal with this. If he loses too many Reapers, then maybe it opens up the door for a roach counter, but even that is still going to be hard to pull off.
I would like a CC behind this, actually.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that it actually is taking so long to get there. But
yeah, it's just making Reapers. I mean, if there's a CC behind this, I feel like he's in an even better spot.
He definitely needed a CC a little while ago. He's got Reapers queued, I think is the reason why he can't afford one. So like he just basically keeps pressing his barracks hotkey and queuing up more Reapers, which isn't bad, but he needs to end the game on Reapers.
He's just straight up engaging the roaches now, and a lot of them are very, very hurt, so he can.
Yeah, so he's killed a few of them. He's going to throw those grenades in the high ground, almost pick off one of those roaches. But keep in mind, of course, Reapers are pretty expensive, you know, and they cost a bit more gas than those roaches, and they take a lot longer to build.
Oh, these roaches in the high ground again getting pot shots off there. Of course, the Reaper can actually regenerate any of you nubblings out there aren't aware.
Yeah, the Reapers, they stole that old Protoss technology, except they turned it into their actual health. Their skin literally just regenerates itself. But a good couple pickups there.
Big
so
pickup.
this is what I was saying though, like Reapers can actually build this momentum, and uThermal is just a crazy Dutchman. He's got 2 more barracks on the way behind this, and he is starting to get a lot of momentum with the Reapers against the Roaches. Those grenades are so sick.
And uThermal is actually just decimating this Roach army here with pure Reaper. The Queen comes out, but she is gone. The KD8 grenades sealing the deal here for the Dutch Terran.
Oh, and he should be able to get this 3-0
That's it,
now.
man.
Like,
he has so many Reapers.
Ever gonna rebuild your army against this? He is so dead and buried right now. As uThermal says a prayer over his main base.
Press F.
And he destroys absolutely everything. I'm glad I Reaper cheesed enough to know. GG.
GG. A 3-0 from uThermal, which was actually, it was the minimum amount of games in the series, but it was so action-packed that
great.
I feel like I've just cast a 5-game series because of the amount of action that was in those ones. That was pretty sick.
That was just a great series to be able to watch. I enjoy being vindicated by that, because I know that there's people who will do like a 3-rack sweeper and they'll transition out. But I know that uThermal has a little bit of that full NA in him, where he'll just be like, okay, I'm actually just going to keep massing Reapers. I'm going to go up to 5 barracks because I know that Roaches are one of the worst things that you can try to do as a response to that.
And also, when you try that at home, kids, just keep in mind that uThermal is like a base god when it comes to controlling his units, so that actually doesn't look as good as it does with a lot of Terrans. But uThermal's, I mean, I was watching him split little clumps of
he made it look easy, right? Game number
easy.
1, every Terran player that has those ridiculously like drawn out games against Zerg, he's like, no, you're not building a Spire.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for range Liberators, and then he just completely shreked him. Game number 2, that was probably the closest game in the series.
That was very close. The counterattack was very dangerous.
He has that moment where both players' main bases are starting to mine out, and the Zerg obviously having the 3rd base gives him access to more income overall. But he used those 2 Liberators to buy himself a lot of time to get set up over there. And then in game number 3, like, he basically, even though he got Overlord scouted, I think you got to open up link speed. You have to get a links around. As hard as it is to do, you should never catch the Reapers ever if you're up against a good Terran with slow Roaches. Like, it's just not happening.
And so with that, uThermal moves on to the round of 16 for tomorrow's games. Pretty sick. Gets himself an extra few $1,000s. Of course, iAsonu gets 1,500.
Yep.
So around 32.
It was. That's a tough loss to take for iAsonu.
It is pretty tough.
But either way, really great play by the Dutch Terran player. There are not too many Terrans these days that have been sneaking their ways through these brackets, so I'm excited to see him go forward.
Double the amount of Zergs of Terrans at this tournament. I think it's 14 versus 7, something like that.
Yeah, Zerg, I guess Zerg has kind of always had the most representation at these foreign tournaments,
They don't always make it to the final game, but No.
But it's been a very interesting series, and I'm hoping that we see more awesome ones. I don't know what's going on in the mainstream right now either, but I think that pretty much does it for us here.
Yeah, we're gonna cut the stream here. Well, not cut the stream, but we'll take a break and we'll come back with more games here on stream B. B for better, because there have been a lot of good series here on this desk.
That's right. We'll see you guys in a little bit for the next series. You're watching DreamHack Tours at the WCS Spring Championships.